Hey, Pastor Josh here. We're reading Mark chapter 10, verse 32 through 34. Jesus just said that the last will be first and the first will be last. He says, Many who are first will be last, and the last will be first. And so then Jesus then gives us description, explanation of that with his own life, with what he's doing. So we need to picture these discussions that have been happening before our reading today. Verse 32 is being on the way. He's on his way toward Jerusalem. All of this was kind of initiated with that discussion with rich young ruler. And so as they are walking, we see that they were on the road going up to Jerusalem, of course, ultimately the place where Jesus is going to die for our sins, and Jesus was walking ahead of them. So you see Jesus in the head leading the way. It says, and they were amazed, and those who followed were afraid. So it seems like they were amazed, being the disciples. This whole idea of the first shall be last, the last shall be first. Remember, Peter even said, hey, we've left everything and followed you. And Jesus says, hey, if you leave those things, you're going to get 100-fold in return. Listen to those previous videos if you've not listened to those here in chapter 10. But they were amazed. They were in awe. And so that would be an attitude we need to adopt. We need to change. We need to be in awe of just the great reward God is going to give us in eternity. We need to be amazed that we're going to live for trillions and trillions of years. Not 70, 80, 90. Trillions of years. That's a lot. You should be amazed in that there's no sacrifice you're going to give on this side of eternity that's not going to be made up 100-fold in the age to come. We should be absolutely amazed at the God that we follow. Attitude to change, an example to follow even. But then you see those who followed were afraid. So I'm almost picturing here that they were amazed, perhaps the 12, those close followers, being amazed with him, but then those who are following behind are a bit afraid. What's this first shall be last, last shall be first business? What's this with persecution? What is this with sacrifice? Being afraid of that, afraid of sacrificing the 50, 60, 70, 80, 90 years on this earth for the eternal world to come. They're afraid of that. Perhaps not even really wanting to do that, like the rich man who decided to leave Jesus because Jesus commanded him to sell everything he had and follow him because money was his God. A lot of times we are afraid to give up the things we're loving on in this world. And then he says, and taking the 12 again, he began to tell them what was to happen to him. So he's reminding them, hey, this is actually the third time, I think. Yeah, right here, heading here. This is the third time Jesus is saying, hey, I'm going to die and I'm going to rise. I'm going to be risen I'm going to rise again on the third day. This is the third time he's saying that. And it's still amazing to me. Jesus told them plainly. He told them clearly. He didn't even use a parable, one of those stories he uses all the time. He tells them plainly of what is going to happen. And yet, when he dies and he's buried, they are scared and they are surprised that he rose again. It's like, guys, he told you. Why would you be surprised? But anyway, they just didn't get it. And so he told them again what was to happen to him. And he said, saying, see, we are going up to Jerusalem, and here's what's going to happen. The Son of Man will be delivered over to the chief priests, scribes. They will condemn him to death and deliver him over to the Gentiles. Gentiles being the Romans. Gentiles are non-Jews. That's what the word Gentile means, is nations. Even some translations will translate that nations. Ethnos is actually the Greek word, and so that is ethnicity. So going to deliver him over to the Gentiles, deliver him over to the Romans to kill, and they will mock him and spit on him and flog him and kill him. And after 3 days he will rise. So again, the promise of sacrifice, but then the great promise there will be a resurrection. And it's the same road we walk. It's the J curve that I have mentioned to you in the past. Great book by Paul Miller, I believe, J curve, if you've not read that. But it's the whole idea that you go down, you start here with the J, beginning of the J, you go down, and then you go up exponentially. And so you sacrifice now, but in the age to come, you're going to get it all back and more. Same thing with Jesus. He was mocked. He died a horrific death by the Gentiles, given to him by the Romans, and then he rose again on the third day. And it's the same path that we walk as Christians. Pray that it's been a blessing to you all. I'll see you in the next video.